Hello, my name is Brendan Austin, and I am the FPM team lead for LPA Software Solutions. Today I'm going to be taking you over a quick preview of the Planning Analytics suite that was just announced and released by IBM. When you're talking about performance management, there are three basic things that you want to try to achieve. First is to drive efficiency of your business. So looking at some of the things that you're doing, figure out a better way to do it based upon the data. Second is deliver foresight. So a way to look and possibly predict the way your business is going to look 6 months, a year down the road, even farther. And three is to steer your business performance and continuously and have a tool set that you can modify on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, etc. Planning Analytics supports these methods. It's a fast, easy, flexible, and complete planning and analytics, and it's cloud-based. Helps you drive efficiency, deliver the foresight, and steer the business performance. And it does that in three different ways. First is speed. So it's a self-service, web-based portal that users can get in and quickly figure out. Very little training is needed for users to get in there, and it's very accurate, etc. Foresight, it makes the analytics very easy for the user to do. With the addition of some of the tools in this suite, Planning Analytics will actually analyze the data and give you trends in the data and give you correlations between things. So you can actually look into the data and figure out what the triggers are on why data may be changing. And agility. Planning Analytics is business owned. It's very flexible. Finance and accounting pretty much owns this product because it is cloud-based. They kind of own all of the content on Planning Analytics, and it's very business-based. So, if you know the business, you can easily set up your models very quickly in this tool. So a little bit more about Planning Analytics Cloud. There's some different components of it. It's all included with the software. So with your subscription, you get full-fledged TM1. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with what TM1 is a world-class 64-bit OLAP engine that's been used for years by thousands of companies across the world. It quickly consolidates data from many different sources. There are a couple different front ends that you can use for it. One is a web, one is a cell-based, etc. It performs calculations very quickly. It is a read-write OLAP database, so a lot of people use it for planning and budgeting. It will store not only numbers but text, so you can store text or comments about things that you're forecasting or budgeting, etc. Also with Planning Analytics, you have a full mobile functionality that comes with it. It's a new front-end mobile interface, which includes not only a new collaboration venue where you can actually have conversations about your model within the system. You can actually assign tasks to people within that now as well. There are also some additional new charting capabilities that are come with this version, as well as some object security enhancements. You also have full-fledged Cognos Business Intelligence as sourced against a TM1 cube, which means that a lot of customers that are out there that just own TM1 at this point, if they move to IBM Planning Analytics Cloud, they would actually get both tools for the same price, essentially. And they could do very powerful dashboards detailed reporting, web-based reporting off of those TM1 cubes, all included. The suite also includes Watson Analytics, which gives you a natural language query capability, and it automatically analyzes your data and tries to tell a story with that data, and it tries to come up with predictions. And I'll show you in the demo, you can actually go in and ask questions. It will build that model behind it to support the question that you're asking. Okay. It also comes with a new front end called Planning Analytics Workspace. It is a new dashboarding type look and feel to both TM1 and Cognos BI. It's a better visual way to plan and build these models, and it's more consistent across the tool. The big game changer with Planning Analytics Cloud is the ability to now import your data from on-premise data sources up to the cloud now. In previous versions, you had to send files from your, say, your ERP, if you had it on in-house. You had to send files to the cloud and load that data via file transfer. That is now fully integrated, and you can actually set up an ODBC link directly to on-premise with a tunnel, and actually load that data directly into IBM Planning Analytics, as well as drill back from Planning Analytics back into your on-premise system. All right. So, talking about mobile, there's a new mobile platform. It's of course cloud-enabled as well, but it gives you a whole lot more functionality on the mobile devices now with the new cloud version than ever before with just TM1 mobile or BI mobile. You can have those conversations through the mobile devices as well. You can analyze the charts, graphs, drill down, do data entry, etc., all from the mobile device. And because it's cloud-based, you no longer have to have a secure VPN or such to connect to that data source. So there are some pretty strong benefits with going to IBM Planning Analytics on the cloud. Not just the new functionality and the new capabilities of the software itself, but just some of the logistics behind the scenes. First is a lower cost of ownership. One, you're not having to support the IT overhead of running a server, doing backups, doing upgrades, etc. That would all be managed by IBM behind the scenes. In fact, upgrades are done within about a 24-hour window. Once you request to be upgraded, IBM will just upgrade your instance automatically within 24 hours and give you a window time when it will be done. Faster time to value. It's very easy to deploy a new instance and get it up and running. It's typically within 8 hours of a request. IBM can actually set up a new server, install the software, and you're off and running. It's very scalable. It is a multi-tenant environment. So as you need to expand that environment, as your company grows, you can actually add more processor, memory, etc. IBM will adjust your environment accordingly. Less strain on IT resources. It's just one less thing that your IT organization has to handle and deal with. And so any changes, etc., that would need to be done, that will be pushed back on IBM. As far as cost accounting, it's a less upfront investment. So you're not having to capitalize another server or any ongoing cost for licenses, etc., for things to operate on that box. Okay, at this point, we're going to jump into our demo environment here. So we're going to go ahead and log into Planning Analytics I'm going to show you guys kind of the look and feel of the product and some of the things that you can do with it. First of all, when you come in to Planning Analytics, you come to the last dashboard that you were actually looking at in the model. And I'm going to actually jump back here, and I'm going to go back to the welcome page to show you the different pieces and the look and feel of the front end. So up here, I've got a link into my reporting capabilities. If I actually launch this, I actually go into the Cognos BI side of it. So I've got the full-fledged Cognos BI where I can go to my home. You go to the welcome page. I can add new dashboards, add new reports, etc. Directly from here. Standard Cognos BI, but it's on the cloud and it's sourced from TM1 cubes behind the scenes. I can also go to Watson Analytics over here. So that's our predictive capabilities where you go in there and you start asking questions about your data, and it will start to analyze the data and link it together and give you some answers. We're going to be actually in Planning Analytics during this demo today, which actually kind of interfaces those two as well as TM1 all together in one. So we're going to start off with going into the SmartCo Planning Analytics book is what it's called. And we're going to start off on the Scorecard and Metrics tab. So behind the scenes, we've got data that we're rolling up on a daily basis. We're pulling it in from different data sources. We've created some targets against that data. And we've actually created some scorecards looking at some of that information. And we're displaying that information here. So here we're looking at a status of our sales for the total company. And I can start drilling down up on that to show you guys some of the detail behind it. So we can see that the status, so our scorecard for total sales is actually in a red status. We can see here that our actuals are way below behind our budget. And then we can start drilling down on that and actually see maybe is it a particular region, is it a particular location, etc. So I can see here quickly that the Eastern region is all red, Central is red, Western is doing well, at least California is doing well, and Canada is low too. And maybe this makes me start to wonder, what's going on here? Why are things looking so bleak? I can come down here to this cause and effect analysis section. And this tells me that my net profit is running under target. It's considered poor according to the tolerances that I've set up. I'm actually at 41% under my target at this point for net profit for the total company. And it tells me my net profit is low because my total operating expenses are higher than what they should be. As you can see here, I'm about 300,000 over, 250,000 over, which is really only 1.9%. But what is a bigger factor is the fact that gross margin is so under what it should be. So I can actually start drilling in on this, and I can say, okay, tell me why my gross margin is so low. And I can start drilling down, and I can say, okay, look, my cost of sales, I'm actually doing pretty well. I'm actually below my budget as far as cost of sales go, but my gross revenue, so my actual sales number, are actually going all the way down to my bottom line. So I'm way under on sales, which we obviously know from above. And so this tells me what the cause of that is. I could also come up here to my operating expenses, and I could say, okay, let's start looking at our operating expenses. And I can see that all of my operating expenses actually look pretty good except for payroll. And so I can actually come in here and I can see across the board from salaries all the way to benefits to my employee paid expenses, etc. They're all over budget at this point. Okay, so I can quickly see it's analyzed all that data, all the numbers. It's applied the metrics to it, and it's put it in the scorecard so that I can easily see red, yellow, or green how I'm doing against those goals. Over on the right-hand side, I've got a tree here that shows me all of the scorecards basically rolled up. So I can see up at the top my total plan as far as meeting the 2015 plan. I can see that I've got 9 green areas and 7 red areas. And I can start drilling down on those to see, okay, where am I doing better and where am I doing worse? So as far as shareholder value, we're actually doing pretty well. And if I scroll over that, I can actually see the different components of that shareholder value and how it's measured. But down here, I can actually see that my revenue, I've got my gross revenue is way low. And so that's what's contributing to some of the negative impacts to be able to meet that 2015 plan. So it's another way to visualize the data very quickly. People like colors, they like graphics, etc. They can easily see and drill down and see what the information is at different areas. Okay, so now at this point, I want to jump to one of my other models and do some analysis on my revenue specifically. You can easily set up different models and jump back and forth between them by simply going up to this main navigation up at the top. I'm going to go back to my welcome screen, and here's where I can jump between these books. I'm going to jump over to my SmartCo revenue instance now. And I'm going to do some revenue analysis. And I want to show you guys how easily it is to set up some of these tiles on here and do some of these advanced analytics. So as you can see, I've got different tiles here. For those of you that have used TM1 in the past, these are actually cube viewers, which are being displayed as either a chart or a graph. I can easily, traverse down. So here I'm looking at my products by year and by quarter, and I can start drilling down on those just right on the screen and see those. Here I'm looking at a bar graph by channel, by quarter, and I can minimize some of this stuff. Down at the bottom, these are selectors. And so, for instance, if I I want to look at all of these as channel total. When I click on that, you'll notice all of the charts and graphs changed automatically. You can see them change as you click on them. So let's say I want to look at channel total gross revenue. You'll notice each one of these changed. You can see them change as they go. And maybe I want to look at gross margin now. So I can see here that, my internet channel is very profitable, especially in phones and tablets. And I can, start drilling down and actually looking at the detail with that. This is very easy to set up. We'll set this up in, just a matter of a couple of hours. And so you can easily, set up your data, put it on here, and have people, looking at it almost immediately. Down at the bottom, we've created a slider bar where you can traverse a region dimension. So I can slide this over here, and we just want to hone in on the Eastern region information, and automatically it changes all of that data, Central, etc. You can also use this play button, and it will cycle through each one of those and change all the data as it cycles through each one of them. So you can see the differences between the regions, and we'll give you a little bit better insight on that. So now we're going to jump over to the workflow section. Within Planning Analytics, a big piece of it is planning and budgeting, and I'm going to show you the workflow capabilities. We're going to jump over there now. So to do so, I'm going to jump back to my other model real quick. Back to SmartCo revenue. And this time I'm going to go to the workflow tab. And here I can see, I've got a budget that I'm trying to complete in this model. And here I'm showing the total workflow of the entire organization for my budget. Because I'm logged in as administrator, I can see the entire organization here. And I can see the status of that budget at each level. So I can see, as far as the total company goes, I'm in an orange status, which means it's incomplete. That means that we have a mix of some locations have started their budget, some may have actually submitted it, some obviously have not even started. For instance, I can see the Central, Western, and regions and Canada are in a red status. They haven't even touched it yet. If I expand out the Eastern region, I can actually see that Massachusetts is really the only one that started the budget process. It's in a reserve status. It happens to be the administrator that took ownership of that. They haven't saved the data yet. But I can actually go into the template by clicking on this link. When it does, it'll launch another window that will actually show me my budget templates. Now, these tabs and the rows and columns on each one of these are completely customizable. Okay, so one thing I want to do is come in and review my operating expenses that I'm budgeting for Massachusetts. And here I can see kind of where I'm looking at for the year. I can see that, when corporate put out the plan and told me to start updating my budget for the year, this is the target that they established for me. So total target operating expenses is $2,120,000. I can see as of right now I'm at just under 1.6 million. So overall I'm looking pretty good. So I have some leeway to change some of the numbers. You notice some of these numbers are in blue. Those numbers are in blue, indicating that I have changed them on the budget. So when I was in here, the day before, I was modifying some of the numbers. They'll automatically change and highlight any impacts that you're making based upon your data entry. So I'm going to come in here and look at this travel information that I was looking at yesterday. And you can see that I had actually changed the vehicle expense. And I'm going to do the same thing for my entertaining expense. I know that this $9,852 is a little bit low. Historically, just knowing from last year, and I could go back here to last year if I wanted to and see what I had budgeted last year. But I just know that the $821 per month is just not quite right. So I could do one or two things. I could either come in here on a monthly basis and change them if I want to. When I do so, I can calculate. You'll notice it now highlighted that in blue. It changed my total year to blue. It changed my total travel expenses and my total operating expense automatically. I didn't have to run a script. I didn't have to do anything else. I now have a new total operating expense number. But I can also come in here and say, okay, maybe I want to change it every month, and I want to change it by a percentage. I can do what's called a data spread very easily by just right-clicking on that yearly number and go to data spread, and I'm going to say a percent change, and I'm going to say I want to increase it by 25% and click add. And what the system's going to do is going to go through month by month and add a 25% increment to each one, reconsolidate it, re-add it up. I now have a $12,000 entertaining expense, which brought it to a $49,000 travel expense. Total $1,566,265, which matches up here. You can see everything highlights in blue automatically. I also want to go possibly look at my employee expense for Massachusetts as well. I know that historically my payroll expense is a big number, and I actually want to look at the detail for that. So to do that, I'm going to go over to this employee tab and start looking at the information that I've got for my employees. So again, security is a big deal in planning analytics. So you can set up different users to access different points in the database. If you've got some users that can't see payroll data, of course they wouldn't be able to see anything on this tab or any information. Because I'm an administrator, I obviously can see everything. But here I can see all of my employees that roll up to my location, the type of job, their job code, their FTE status, so whether they're full-time, part-time, etc., their total exempt salary versus their current salary, if they're going to get a merit increase, what percentage merit they're going to get, as well as what period that goes into play. This drives which month their salary increase would hit, any merit adjustment. So I can come in here and actually give somebody a raise at some point during the year. And then the system automatically calculates this new salary. So I can actually come in and give people an increase directly here on the screen. So for instance, if I want to come in and give James Jones a 5% merit adjustment, I simply just go in and key that. I calculate. The system automatically told me I'm now giving till 20% merit adjustment. It recalculated his salary for the year based upon that adjustment. And I can actually drill into the details too. So let's say I want to look at some more detail about James Jones. I just click on this drill the details button and it brings up his record. It tells me a trend of kind of where he is with everything. In reality, he's starting in January and he termed in February. So the system automatically knew, even though I'd given him an increase, not to calculate anything past February. So it dummy-proofed my payroll budgeting process right here and there. So now I want to go back to my P&L and see where I'm sitting right now as far as my total budget for Massachusetts based upon all this data entry that I've just done. I simply go to the P&L tab. You notice, just like on the other tabs, the numbers in blue indicate changes that I've made. It's giving me variances and variance percentages. I can see where my budget is sitting versus what my target was given by corporate. So you can see here my revenue, I'm still way under what corporate wants me to do as far as revenue goes. But as far as total net profit, I'm way under. So I've got some major changes to do to this budget before I'd actually submit it in reality to my manager. But as far as time, I want to show you how easy it is to actually submit and approve this budget. First thing I'm going to do is commit the changes that I've made by clicking the green check mark. You notice everything goes from that blue to black, indicating that it's permanently changed. And it also means that anybody looking at my budget can now see those numbers. They're automatically rolled into my total budget all the way up to corporate. Up here, I can submit my budget by clicking on the submit button, indicating yes. When I do so, it actually changes all the access on this to read only. Okay, so if I actually come out here, it's set at the top locked. It now also says in the status screen that it's locked. If I went back into Massachusetts, I wouldn't be able to make any changes until the person above me that's actually going to review it either rejects it and sends it back to me, or the whole process starts over again. I also have the ability within the model, within Planning Analytics, to create conversations as well as assign tasks to people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just within a budget process. It could be just to review some information. It could be a conversation about, for instance, their Christmas party, etc. So to get to that, there's just two links up here. First is the Conversations button. It's on the top of every one of these windows, every one of the screens within Planning Analytics. You simply click on the Conversations, and you can see the different conversations that are occurring in the company. You can contribute to that conversation. You can add a new comment or a poll, take a vote on things, etc. I'm going to jump back over to one of my other models here, and we're going to go to the Operation Planning one. And I'm going to go up to this Process Tasks and List section. Here I've got a pop-up calendar, which I can go in and traverse the calendar and pick a date for a task. I can add a new task here directly on the screen, and I can assign that task to either a group of users or an individual user. And so it's basically a way to go in here and create task lists or checklists for people to actually complete. As they check those off, you can see whether they're done or any comments associated with that as well. So it's a way to stay out of emailing back and forth and trying to see, where people are with a particular task. Again, I can go back to conversations and start a conversation as well within each one of these models. Okay. So now we're going to jump and look at some other type of data. This is based upon a hospitality company that we've worked with in the past. Here's just some different graphs and charts that we've created. I can jump between forecast actuals and budget up here. And again, all of the information changes automatically. I can easily change as a user. Let's say this is put out there and I don't like the chart or the graph. I simply just can click on that chart, come up and change the type by clicking on this change visualization. And I can pick any one of the chart and graph types. There are many more chart and graph types coming and that will be released shortly. And I can come up here and change these. I can save this as my own copy and not impact anything else that anybody else is doing. I also have the ability down here, I can actually embed a video. So whether that video is actually a link to something else, it's maybe a video about how to complete your budget, maybe it's a video about a new product or something that you need to show. I can actually embed that here. I can embed charts, graphs, links to other websites, text boxes, etc. I have a whole lot of capability to do that. I also have some Excel spreadsheets or Excel reports that I've got linked back to Planning Analytics behind the scenes. This is using the Cognos Cafe product, for those of you that are familiar with Cafe behind the scenes. And I can embed these Cafe documents directly in my planning workspace. To show you that, I'm going to go to this financial statement button. And this is essentially an Excel worksheet behind the scenes that is linked and is pulling up the data based upon what I'm looking at right now. So my current period is 2015. My security access, I'm attached to one particular location. And here I can see my P&L statement that was crafted in Excel directly in this window. And I can traverse different tabs on it as well. I could change the data if I had security access to do so. And if I wanted to take this down and actually create an Excel spreadsheet out of it, or export it, I can simply come up here to the window and just export that and or share it with another user directly on the screen. So I don't need to jump out to another tool to look at my data in different venues. I can simply do that all within the Planning Analytics application. So at this point, we've taken you through the dashboarding, the reporting, the ad hoc reporting, the workflow. We've talked a little bit about Cafe and the Excel templates that you can create and embed in here as well. But let's say you're a user and you're looking for some information and you just can't seem to find it. Okay, and you want to do some ad hoc analysis of some data. It's very easy to do in Planning Analytics. To do so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to my SmartCo instance, and I'm going to come over here to the left, and I'm going to add a new tab to this document. And to do that, I'm going to come up here and get in change mode, and then I'm going to add another tab by clicking the plus button, and I'm just going to do a Freeform and click use. And over here, I get a search bar at the top. And up here, I can actually type in a question or a phrase. So I know that I want to analyze my revenue by year, by product, and that's all that I know. I don't know where it is sitting on the server. I don't know which database, which cube, etc. That's all that I know. When I click enter, what the system does is it goes out and does a search, and it says, okay, I've got information in these different instances, these different cubes, and it says, okay, tell me which cube you actually want to interact with. Well, I know it's the revenue cube. I do know that much. And you notice what it did. It actually went out to that cube. It tried to figure out what it was you were actually asking for in that cube. It built a view of that cube, and it's showing you the data so that I can traverse that. I'm going to go ahead and click this use button down here. And what it will do is it will then embed that cube viewer directly on the screen. So now once it's in here, I can move these things around. Let's say I want to bring my products down as rows. I can simply drag and drop that within that cube viewer. And now I can start drilling down on this information directly on the screen as well. So I can quickly create a new view. If I wanted to change this into a chart or graph, I can simply just right click on it and make the changes. I can add titles, I can suppress zeros, etc. But from a user perspective, it's very easy to create these. I could save this, again, as a new sheet, rename that sheet anything I want to, and save that out there for either my own usage or for anybody else to use it as well. So at this point, we're going to jump out and go back to our slideshow here. I hope we've given you a good overview of Planning Analytics. It's an exciting new functionality that's out there. It really opens the doors to a lot of companies. They couldn't afford Planning Analytics type solution before. Now that it's cloud-based, etc., and you get full functionality, TM1 plus BI plus Watson Analytics all in one product. There is a lot to cover. We will have some follow-up webinars coming up in the next few weeks to go over more specific details and specific actions within Planning Analytics. But here's kind of the overview slide of what you get. Now we're going to open it up for questions. So if you do have any questions that you want to ask, please enter them into the chat window. If we do not get to your question, we will follow up with you within the next day or so with an answer to your question. And if you want a a longer demo, a specific demo to your company, please reach out to us. We'd be more than willing to help you out and have any further discussions that you'd like about planning analytics or any of the other Cognos products. All right, so we do have some time for some questions. We've already gotten a few. Again, if you do have a question, please add it to the chat window. If we do not get to your question, we will follow up with you within the next day or so with the answers to those questions. First question is, does Planning Analytics replace any other IBM product, or is it a completely new offering? Well, interesting answer. If you are on TM1 Cloud right now, Planning Analytics is replacing the current TM1 Cloud version. As far as that is a replacement. But when you really stand back and look at what Planning Analytics is, it's a full integration of multiple products. You've got TM1, BI, and Watson all included in the same product. So for customers that either are new to a tool like this, the opportunity is greater to go with Planning Analytics now and get everything kind of bundled in one. And then for customers that are already on, say, TM1, either on-premise or on cloud, it's an opportunity for you to get the additional products for the same price, all integrated in together. The second question, you mentioned being able to load directly from an ERP to Planning Analytics or to the cloud. How is that done? With Planning Analytics, they've included behind the scenes a product called Cognos Integration Server. That allows for a tunnel to be created directly on the cloud server back to your on-premise systems. So, if you've got JD Edwards, SAP, Lawson, etc., Finium, any of those on-prem ERP systems, or whether it's a point-of-sale system or some database that you've got on-premise, you can now create an ODBC connection directly to that database, which would allow you to directly load from your on-premise database into the cloud Planning Analytics software, and to drill back from reports back to those source systems. So if you enable those drill backs, it would drill back seamlessly from the cloud back to on-prem. The tool does come with some tools behind the scenes to create those interfaces. Turbo Integrator is behind the scenes and would create those jobs to actually import that data from your on-premise systems into the back end of Planning Analytics. Third question, how easy is security to set up? Very easy. In fact, the security in the system it's group-based. So you set up your users and you assign them to a group. Each group has access to everything that we saw. So you can limit those groups to the reports that they see, the templates that they can actually go into, even at the dimension level. So let's say I don't want them to see any payroll accounts. I could say for a particular group, they have no access to see the payroll account. So then they wouldn't have access to see salary type data. It's very easy to set up. It's all done from a user perspective. Great interface. It's very intuitive to figure out. Fourth question, is IBM still developing new functionality in Planning Analytics? Yes, and the answer is daily. So after the release date, they will continue to improve Planning Analytics and add additional functionality to the software platform. The way it will work is as new functionality is rolled out, they will add that to a new version. Once you go live on Planning Analytics, to go to that next version to get that additional functionality, you would simply email the IBM software help desk and tell them what version you would like to go to. It's typically within 24 hours they will spin up a new instance or convert your instance to that new version. All your data would then automatically be accessible in that new version, and then you can start your testing from there. But the intent is that this will be a continuously improving platform, and so all new functionality that is released will be released on the cloud first, and then will eventually come to the on-premise versions of the software behind the scenes. Next question. I'm a current TM1 on-premise customer. Can you explain how I would move to this, and what advantage would I have over the on-premise version? Good question. So there is a migration to cloud, or a bridge to cloud offering that LPA can speak to you about. It's a pretty exciting offer that IBM is actually giving people. The intent is that they give you a 3-year period to actually move from the on-premise to the cloud version. And during that 3-year period, you actually have access and support on both your on-premise software that you already own, as well as the cloud offering. So you have time to move that information from on-prem to cloud. Now, the actual moving of the data and setting up those connections, it's actually very easy to do. It's more of an end user perspective. You're pointing them to a new web address to consume those reports. And you might be creating some of these new dashboards that exist in Planning Analytics that did not exist in TM1 on-prem before. So it's taking advantage of that additional functionality. You've got 3 years to actually do that. At the end of that 3 years, if you decide that you want to go back on-prem, you have the ability to do that. They will then just convert your services dollars back to the on-premise service and support. You still own the software on-prem, and you can switch back at that time if you feel it necessary. The advantages of the Planning Analytics over the on-prem version of TM1, kind of twofold. One, the integrated tool set of getting the BI, the Watson, and there are also some additions that you can add to it. You can also add a 1 license of fully fledged Cognos BI against any data source. So it's not just limited to TM1. You can add 1 license for that. You can also add an SPSS modeler license to your environment as well. So you get the full Cognos suite of products all in one at one price. The other advantages are kind of on the back end. As far as IT support, you're no longer maintaining a server. IBM's going to handle all the backups for you, all the upgrades. They're going to make sure the operating system is up and running fine. And a lot of clients that we have now that are on TM1, sometimes when they have international locations or locations spread out throughout the country, some of the users experience some slowness and either have to use Citrix or TM1 Web to get around that. With it being on the cloud, everybody's accessing it from the same place from the cloud, so it's internet based. So typically the speed that your users will notice is a lot greater than with an on-prem version. The last question I think that we're going to have time for is how are the cloud services billed? It's really a question for our sales group. The way it's typically a multiple year agreement that you sign. You can have it billed monthly. It is priced monthly per user. So there are different configurations that you can set up based upon the deal that you sign and how you negotiate it. But we would be more than willing to help you work through that. If you've got any questions about a bridge to cloud or what the next steps would be, please do not hesitate to contact us at www.lpa.com. Go to our website. There's a contact us link there. And that is all the time that we have for questions today. I really appreciate your time for attending this webinar. And again, if you've got any questions, please add them to the chat window and we will get back to you with the answers if we didn't get to your question as soon as we can. Thank you.